Well, hello, it's MarMark Ashcroft at Senior Mash, and I'm here to talk rugby union. Well, always thank you at Talk Rugby Union on Twitter, at Nat League on Twitter, and of course their websites of talkingrugby.co.uk and ncarugby.com. But also, I noticed that my Substack account is being activated by the guys from Talking Rugby Union on their Facebook account and on YouTube. So massive thanks, and if you do subscribe to Facebook or YouTube, take a look at what I'm doing. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, have a comment, subscribe, like, share. Let's get the word out there. This is a different view of a sporting weekend. This week, Substack has inspired me once again to do more research and get investigating sport dating back to 1885, and you'll see more of that in coming weeks. The big guns have started in the Premiership, and wow, what a start to the season. Question is, will this change my interest in rugby? And let's face it, I've got some real favourites, so let's get those out on the table so everybody knows where my soft spots are. So big thanks this week to the Ormskirk Advertiser and their archives, where I've been able to research back to 1883, 1885, looking at cricket. And you can see Rufford playing Southport and Rufford playing Maudsley. And yes, there is an Ashcroft in that Rufford team. So the village of Rufford is pretty important to me. Anyway, lots going on in my research on sport, and I'm going to keep you updated over the coming weeks and maybe months. So, as the big guns start to fire, who am I tipping? Really interested in Bath, Munster, Glasgow, and the Ospreys. Thank you, Bath, for such a great start. Work in progress elsewhere, and I'm always going to share a huge interest in the Falcons and the Sharks, but I've got some soft spots, so let me go through the list. Let's start to understand. Rufford Cricket Club will always get mentioned. It's part of my DNA. Rufford football, including the Rufford Colts team that I played in, they're going to get lots of mentions, as is my old grammar school, Hutton, an important school for rugby. Steve Borthwick went there. Brian Ashton went there. Yes, they did indeed. And so did I. My first view of rugby union was filed, followed by oral, followed by Preston Grasshoppers. I'd watched lots of rugby league on TV with Eddie Waring on Grandstand every Saturday afternoon. But these were the clubs that I first went to in person and saw games being played. Then off I went to university. I went to Bradford and participated in both cricket and rugby. I then had some interesting experiences whilst at university playing for Ormskirk Rugby Club, but in the veterans team, and having a few run-outs for Littleborough Rugby Club. Off then to Australia, where I started to watch a great deal of Aussie rules football, and particularly Hawthorn, as their training ground was close to where I was living. And I got involved with East Malvern Cricket Club to pursue my cricketing ambitions. Not that they went very far, but I enjoyed every minute of it. On returning, I was introduced to Talking Rugby Club with my son, playing minis and juniors. That was about 1998, and that led me on to seeing Lancashire County Rugby, and then as my son gained a scholarship with Bath Rugby and played with Bath University, I started to get involved in Bucks Super Rugby and met up with a guy called Alex Key, who's the was the Durham University rugby coach. And that led me on to some wonderful experiences promoting uni rugby, particularly with Sevens rugby. Two teams, Pride Passion Party, sponsored by a US company called Party City, and Red Panda Sevens, a company set up by my son and his business partner Max Scoffich. And then on to Manchester Met University. Big shout out to Rob Jones and all his team. And finally, Sedgley Park Rugby Union Football Club. What have I seen this week? Well, back to the armchair. And first of all, Australia. What were you doing? Nearly, but that first try by Jordan for the All Blacks, I just loved it. And winning start for Bath against Northampton. Was I expecting that? Yes, I was. The scoreline? Not so sure, but well done, Bath. Onwards and upwards. And then I watched Sedgley Park versus Dings live stream. What a great experience. Encourage anybody to do that who's not able to get to a game. But let's face it, we want you down watching live rugby. Well done, Dings. Great result for you. And really like your number 9. Very reminiscent of Harry Randall. So keep it going and I'll be giving you a shout out. Plymouth Albion, my tip. Thank you guys. You got the win. Whew. It was looking a lot easier at half time than at full time, but Ryan Lamb's team getting the W, so well done. And then for many of us, what's going on here? Argentina by 1 point against South Africa, denying South Africa the opportunity to win the Rugby Championship with 1 game to go. Felipe Contapone, well done, awesome, and can't speak highly enough about that result. So this week, I started to see people trying to select a Lions team. Not many games into the season yet, but it's already started. So you'll see in a moment, I've given it a try. You'll be intrigued and maybe might bring a bit of a laugh. There's nothing like watching live sport. I love every minute of it. But I've got to say that people are embracing live stream and they're getting better at using it at all levels of sport. So if you see something on Twitter that says live stream, give it a try. Please give it a try. And I think for both Rugby League and Rugby Union, the TV coverage we're starting to see is really good. Although I've got to say this weekend, the Rugby League permutations were a bit convoluted. So, 2013, I was in Australia for the Lions, and they're going to return there next year. Rugby Inside Line have already started calling out what they think a team might look like, and there's some great names in there. Given that Ireland are so dominant at the moment and Andy Farrell will be the coach, it shouldn't be any surprise to see the names like Furlong, McCarthy, Byrne, Gibson Park and Doris. But what about Senior Mash? Well, I've taken a completely different tack on this. I'm going to take this, I'm going to take this as an opportunity to start predicting each month up until the team goes to Australia. I'm going to predict who I think will be in that 23. I'm going to start with some very familiar faces that I've watched, met, talked to over recent years. Joe Marler, Johnny Matthews, Tad Furlong, Itoje, Freddie Clark, Byrne, Curry, Wainwright, Tom Whiteley, one of the best sevens players I have ever seen. Smith, Marcus, Tom O'Flaherty and Rudrick McConaughey on the flanks. 2 sevens players that, again, I enjoyed watching. Pride Passion Party and Red Panda Sevens. Sam James, Gary Ringrose. And of course, at 15, Mike Haley. Come on, Andy Farrell. Think about my 15. There's some great names there. So what have I seen on social media this week? John Newcomb. Twitter at Rugby Times does a lot of work with the Rugby Paper, World Rugby. Very, very good journalist. Met him once in person. Sedgley Park were playing at Otley and stood next to John and had a great chat with him. Really knows his rugby, passionate about National League rugby. So if you see his tweets, really give them a read, drill down into them, and you can see John covering the Doncaster Knights versus Ampthill game in the Championship. The National League Rugby Preview Show going well so far. Enjoying Chris Heel and Ben Jaycock, and nice to see a tweet from Alex Lem giving them a shout out. Really, really well deserved. Talking of sevens, Bournemouth is a great festival of rugby sevens. If you get the chance, you really need to go there. I'd have it up there with the Heineken Kinsale sevens. Nice to see the team at Bournemouth signing up student ambassadors. Good move, well thought out. And then Hugh Laurie. Where did he come from? Suddenly appeared on my Twitter. And you know, here he is talking about rugby. It's not just me talking rugby union. Hugh Laurie is talking rugby union. Focusing on Japan, South Africa. Do you remember that game in the World Cup of 2015? If you don't, as he suggests, take a look on YouTube. I then looked at a tweet from Coldy and picked up some names from National League One. I've got to say, Jacob Tansey at Sedgley Park playing number 9 last year was outstanding. I think he was at Bath University as well. His move to Coldy, I think, will be really, really well received, and wishing him a great season. And then, as I mentioned earlier, live stream. Sedgley Park did it so well yesterday. Well done to all those involved. Great initiative. Thoroughly enjoyed my afternoon. And finally, just to say, there's some very good work by National League Rugby and their media team. They give you a player of the week each week. They give you a try of the week. They get on Instagram. They get on Twitter. They do their YouTube. They really deserve your support. So get out there and give them some support. It's really, really class work by the team and led by Chris Heel, Max Scoffich. Very, very well done, guys. Much appreciated. So that's Senior Mash, Talking Rugby Union. Thanks. But before I go, I was left with one interesting thought following my discussions with you all last week. And that was, why on Twitter do England Rugby, with 1.1 million followers, give no support to National League Rugby? They only use their Twitter Rugby Football Union, RFU, which has 15,000 followers. Come on, England Rugby. Come on, RFU, whoever you are. Use your channels to amplify rugby across the country. Help clubs get players, get spectators, get volunteers. Help your clubs. You can do this using your social media. Don't ration it. So, once again, thanks, and see you next week.